The Isonzo Front was a series of 11 battles between Italy and Austria-Hungary along the Isonzo River, the border of the time between Italy and Austria-Hungary near the Adriatic Sea. These 11 battles were spurred by Italian General Luigi Cordona, and the Austrian-Hungarian General Borisovich von Baugnia was the defending general. Italy wanted to make territorial gains into Austria-Hungary in order to fulfill their Italian Irredenta goals. Italy would suffer almost half of their 600,000 killed, and Austria-Hungary would lose 200,000 men along the Isonzo Front, leading Italian soldier and poet Giuseppe Ungaretti to say, "The Isonzo scoured me like one of its stones." The geography played a large role in the fighting, as Austro-Hungarians holed up on a mountain range overlooking the Isonzo River. This left the Italians with an unsolvable dilemma. To cross over successfully, they needed to neutralize the Austrian-Hungarian strongholds on the mountain, but in order to neutralize the strongholds, they had to cross the river. This anomaly was never actually solved by Italian General Luigi Cordona, who instead mounted increasingly unsuccessful attacks and ended up losing over 235,000 men in the first 4 failed attempts at actually winning a battle. Luigi Cordona and Italy were on the offensive during most of this time period, and the defense of the Austro-Hungarians was impressive. Although Italy waged this huge attritional war, in the end, Austro-Hungarian was able to hold on to a point where Italy could not overcome topography. Italy was also lacking heavy artillery, which the strongholds of the Austro-Hungarians in the mountains were not in lacking of. The first battle of the Isonzo occurred on June 23rd to July 7th in 1915. Italian forces ambushed the Austrian-Hungarian defense, gaining Monte Carlo, the mountains around the city of Plezzo, and part of Monte Nero. Austrians' hold to the highlands west of Tolmino would be a major point of defeat for Italy later on. But Austria withdrew past Gorizia, hidden especially by the plateau, the river, and the mountains surrounding it. So the geography in this battle really worked to Austro-Hungarians' advantage, and eventually the Italians retreated as they realized they lacked heavy artillery and bullet reserves. The second battle of Isonzo occurred between July 18th and August 3rd of 1915. In this offensive, fighting around Plezzo and Tolmino became continuous, and hand-to-hand combat even transpired on Mount Nero. Podgora, the gateway to Gorizia, was captured by the Italians, but after a few weeks of continuous fighting, no real changes were made. The third Battle of Isonzo took place between October 23rd and November 3rd, 1915. General Luigi Cordona used the exact same tactics that he used in the first battle where he failed. He tried to attack the entire front, but ended up spreading the Italian forces too thin, and they were unable to make a lot of gains. Additionally, he did not have enough heavy artillery to fully back up his fighting. It was kind of silly of General Cordona to use the same tactics and expect improved results, which, as everyone knows, is the definition of insanity. During this fight, the Austro-Hungarian forces received reinforcements, which led to them completely stopping Italian movement forward and suffered high casualties on both sides. The fourth Battle of Isonzo occurred between November 10th and December 2nd in 1915. It was really just a second phase to the third battle, as the Italians attacked Monte Busi, an area they had previously attacked in the third battle. Again, their attack was completely unsuccessful, and Cordona ended up ceasing fighting in preparation for the mountainous winter called Bora. He decided that fighting would resume in the spring. At this point, the Italians had spent over half a year attempting to gain territory in this area with few gains and high casualties. These battles do fit into the 1915 war year name of Total War, as the Italians were throwing resources that were getting destroyed with little to no gains at all. This shows how total war has taken over, leading to high destruction on both sides with little to no gains.
The fifth battle of the Isonzo began on March 9th and it lasted until the 17th of March in 1916. French Marshal Joffre asked Italy and Russia to relieve the pressure on the French army after Germany had attacked Verdun and the surrounding fortresses. Italy and Russia would each go on the offensive on their own fronts. Cadorna formed a half-hearted offensive almost immediately. Probes were created in Tolmino, Gorizia, and the Carso. The probes were really more along the lines of demonstrations and not full attacks. The offensives lasted only around a week due to bad weather and the fact that Austria-Hungary staged counterattacks, specifically at Santa Maria near Tolmino. The Italian army did not have adequate weaponry and desperately needed more guns and artillery shells. The Allies had to send heavy artillery pieces, but the further advancement of the Italian army was now hindered because they had to assemble the new supplies. The Austrian-Hungarian forces were planning their own assault through an advancement towards Isonzo, called the Battle of Asiago. The Austrian-Hungarian attack upon Carso was a turning point in the Great War. 4,600 men were killed, wounded, and are gassed. In this counterattack, the Austrian-Hungarians introduced asphyxiant gases against the Italians, which were very successful in producing many Italian casualties. The Sixth Battle of the Isonzo, the Battle of Gorizia, began on August 4th and lasted until the 17th of August in 1916. Gorizia was Italy's sole objective. The human genius of this battle was that the principle of mass or concentration was used, and it narrowed the initial battlefield to only an 8-mile-wide front. General Cadorna put 10 of his own divisions against only 2 of the enemy's. The Italians failed to bring Austrian-Hungarian forces to the south of Gorizia. The main Italian advance was that they captured Mount Sabatino and Mount Pedgora. On August 8th, the 12th Italian Division entered Gorizia, and on August 9th, Gorizia was secured by the Italian forces. Mount Saint-Michel and Mount Sebusi were seized, with the high cost of casualties. The Italian advancement went 3 miles deep in the 15-mile-wide front on the Carso, and it was the first offensive success of Italy during the Great War.
The Seventh Battle of the Isonzo took place on December 14th through 17th of 1916. The Italian strategy here changed from instigating widespread attacks to concentrating their available forces on a small target. It appears Cadorna finally realized the inefficiency of spreading Italian strength across the entire front. The Italians attacked the area around the Isonzo River west of Gorizia, but the attack was halted after a few days due to heavy casualties. The area east of Gorizia, the Selva di Terranova, was also attacked by the 2nd Italian Army, and Monte Rombon was temporarily captured. The Eighth Battle of the Isonzo took place on October 10th through 12th, 1916. The Eighth Battle was really just a continuation of the Seventh Battle, and the Italians' attempt to obtain the area west of Gorizia also continued. The outcome of the battle was identical to that of the Seventh, and that the Italians failed to take hold of the area. The 2nd Italian Army also lost their hold on the Selva di Terranova, but the fighting there still continued in an attempt to regain it. The Ninth Battle of the Isonzo took place on November 1st through 4th, 1916. The 2nd Italian Army captured the lands near Monte San Marco and the Selva di Terranova, and the fighting continued west of Gorizia and in the Carso, but it gradually settled into a ceasefire in view of the approaching mountain winter.
The 10th Battle of the Isonzo was from May 12th to June 8th of 1917. Italy believed that they could make a decisive breakthrough in the Isonzo. That's what they thought. Their goal was to expand the corridor of Gorizia to accomplish a stronger advance toward Trieste to form a better connecting route. Their strategy was the more mountains, the better. But the attack on Tolmino Bridgehead on May 15th failed, and the attack on Monte Nero also failed. Italy captured Mount Cook and Mount Vodice, but failed to take hold of Monte Santo. The Italian Third Army was commanded to make an attack on the Carso. Austro-Hungarian counterattacks halted Italian advancement. The 11th Battle of the Isonzo was from August 19th to September 12th of 1917. The Italian Supreme Commander, or Comando Supremo, wanted to flank the position of the Austro-Hungarian army that was located on the Tolmino Bridgehead. He hoped to potentially get another route to the highly desired area of the Trieste. And the Italian objective was to obtain the Benziza Plateau, which was to the southeast of Tolmino. Sadly, this tactic was mixed with the old scheme of getting Trieste by thundering through the Carso. Benziza could not be assaulted from the front, so Italy built 14 bridges, which reached from the plateau to across the river and allowed the assault troops to handle the difficult terrain. Italy was successful in making their enemies withdraw and captured almost half of the plateau. Mount Santo was finally captured, but things quickly took a turn for the worse for the Italians. The Austro-Hungarian forces used the difficult geography of Benziza to their advantage by hiding in its caverns. The Italians could not advance further and failed to capture Mount Gabriel, and then the Italian offensive came to an end.
The Italians made many gains on the Isonzo front around the city of Gorizia. However, their failure to capture the city of Caporetto would eventually come back to haunt them.
200,000 out of their World War I. I just said World War I. She just showed me the face.